Right.
Therefore, it just feels intensely crowded. It really is a lot of people packed into a very small space.
It really does. It feels crowded, but the spirit is so high and folks are so excited to be out here. I don't even think they're worried who is stepping on whose toes at this point.
Well, mine have gotten stepped on a few times, and I probably have stepped on yours a couple of times too, Jocelyn. But hey, who cares? We're here to see the Saints and honor them for a fantastic Super Bowl win.
We are, and look at those players up there. What's fun to watch right now is it looks like they're having a great time. You think they might be tired.
No,
the big
no,
Super
no.
Bowl victory, especially Drew Brees. He's been down in the Disney parade. He was on David Letterman last night.
But I think he's probably on such an adrenaline high right
Yes.
now that you couldn't tire him out.
No, you probably couldn't. And so they are up there having so much fun. They're throwing beads. They're posing for pictures. And what's interesting right here, of course, the Bacchus truck right in front of us, the big souped-up F-250 has the Super Bowl flags on it as well that you see all over town.
You're right. You know, you would think that the crowds, the spectators, would be tired too because they partied all Sunday night. They partied all day Monday. But you know what? They probably got some sleep last night, and something tells me that things are going to be slow at work and school again tomorrow because people are going to go out and party after this as well.
Of course.
When will it all end? I don't know. Maybe when the Saints go to the Super Bowl next year. And then it won't end either. It'll just regenerate and go for another year.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a couple week-long party. All right, well, let's head back to the beginning of the parade. I also believe we have some Saints players as this Bacchus King float comes closer to us and Drew Brees is right here. We'll definitely make sure to come back. But Michael and Jessica, back to you guys.
Indeed, those are some of the Saints players. Ed Daniels, you recognize him?
Well, that's Jeff Charleston, number 97, up on the top. Here's a guy who was working as a bartender at a restaurant in Oregon when they found him. And you know, he had a key part in this deal because Charles Grant tore triceps late in the year. In fact, the regular season finale against Carolina. So the Saints were short on defensive ends. And I thought one of the most interesting moments of the pep rally that we hosted on Saturday night was his dad was there. And his father is and I say this in a kind way, a lunatic Saints fan. And we had him up on the stage and he was just really, really enjoying it. And he said, you know, hey, I'm from Oregon, but I'm a New Orleanian now. So there's a ton of stories like that on this football team. Guys who have, really tried to make it in other places. Where, I don't want to say the word discarded, but cut.
Kind of cast-offs.
Yeah, cast-offs.
Yeah.
And Jeff Charleston, who was up on the top of that float, having a great time. If you can imagine his scenario, 15, 16 months ago, he's tending bar in Oregon, and he's hoping that he gets a chance on some NFL team. He comes down here at the end of 2008, and then in 2009, he gets an opportunity to play significant downs in the Super Bowl.
And he represents a huge leap of faith the Saints management has on so many of these players. There's something there.
There's a lot to constructing a roster. And if you look, I'm looking at that roster right now. There's Chase Daniel, number 10, the third quarterback. Jamar Nesbitt, who was a starter for so many years, number 67, backup offensive lineman. Up on the top there's a guy that Drew Brees was so excited for that's right next to him. That's Mark Brunell, the Saints' backup quarterback, who led Jacksonville to an AFC championship game and was never able to play in a Super Bowl. If you remember when Joe Gibbs went back to the Redskins, the first thing he did was his big free agent signing was bringing Mark Brunell in as his starter, and it never really worked out for him there. But then he came to New Orleans as the backup, and I think he's a guy who has been in the league a long time, started out with Green Bay, and really appreciates this moment. I'm trying to check out a few more numbers. Pat, if you can hear me, if you could just go down just a hair. Trying to check out a few more guys here on this float. We're kind of a long way away, and we can't check them all out. But you get the gist of it. There's the starter and the superstar up there, and there's also a lot of guys who are, and Jamal Brown, a guy, frankly, number 70 down in the bottom left-hand corner of the float, a guy that I feel sorry for because he's been an outstanding player on this team for 5 years, a two-time Pro Bowl offensive tackle, and was hurt and went on injured reserve and was not able to play the entire year. Now he's going to get a Super Bowl ring,
Right.
but you know there's a little bit of a void there because here's a guy who has been excellent at his position all these years, and he really didn't get on the field this year. So a little bit of a disappointment there in the midst of all the celebrating.
And we're watching Drew Brees on the top there. He's kind of disappeared for now, but he's
Probably reaching down to get some more beads.
yeah, probably so. Throwing a lot.
I
of
hope they have a
throws
lot
there.
because if not, they're going to run out.
Yeah, they're gonna run out. We know what that's like. But
They
I tell you,
apparently
it's,
ordered 1.8 million strands of beads for this
Right.
parade.
But
would
you
have
know,
to.
as someone who has done this before, I can tell you, you get up there in front of a large crowd, the adrenaline is just overwhelming. It overtakes you.
It does.
And I know for these guys, you know, what they're celebrating today is an enormous accomplishment. And for them, you know, I think it's going to be hard to calm those guys down tonight.
And you get the sense too from every player you talk to or you hear from that there really is this connection with this city, with the people here.
Yeah.
And it's not just, you don't find it in other
Well,
places.
You know, I think the closest place that I could compare it to would be Green Bay, Wisconsin,
Right.
because there's such a fervor for the Packers. In a lot of ways, I don't want to compare Green Bay to New Orleans because it's apples and oranges, but New Orleans is a small market NFL franchise, even though we know we're the big time, and Green Bay is the smallest NFL market, and I think there's a lot of similarities there. And you know, and for the most part, I got to tell you, this is when the coaches say this is a good locker room, it is a good locker room with a lot of good guys in it, and I think, you know, we're happy to see the fact that they get the Super Bowl ring as well.
Well, John and Jocelyn are about to get a close-up view of Drew Brees here. As we were mentioning, Drew Brees has had a whirlwind 48 hours, winning the MVP in the Super Bowl, winning the Super Bowl, going to Disney World, going to Letterman, and now probably at the biggest parade he's ever seen in his life.
Yeah, Michael and Jessica, it really might be one of the biggest parades. And what's interesting right now, you see the float is still stopped. It's having a really hard time actually coming down Loyola Avenue because people are no longer just pushing on, they are filling the street, and they cannot get
in front of the floats, in front of the bands, and that is really impeding things. But you can't listen to this crowd shout.
Right.
as they're
There's
getting
no
a glimpse
stopping
of the
this
players.
crowd. They have stopped the float because they cannot get enough of the Saints players. So that's what we're seeing right now. It's a stalled out float, and the fans are going crazy, and the cameras are all up in the air. Everyone's trying to capture a shot. And you know what? Michael was just saying Drew Brees disappeared for a little while. Clearly getting more beads, Michael. You were right. Look at him flinging those beads
Yeah,
off, almost as if he tossed a pass.
But, you know, when he stepped away, I heard someone in the crowd say, Drew Brees has left the building. But no, that wasn't the case. He was just gone for a bead reload.
A bead
which you
reload.
gotta do now once and again. And boy, they have loaded up this crowd right here where we're standing, which is probably, I don't know, 30, 40 yards downrange. They are so keyed up and hyped up waiting for this float to get down here. People are craning their necks and pressing up against each other and screaming, as you hear.
Right, they
as
are.
this float slowly creeps up toward us through the crowd.
Oh, I don't know if it's going to make it through this crowd. And what's really interesting is you do have a couple of people you can tell are following this float.
Yes.
They are not solely standing in their spot waiting for the float to come through. They are following the float and the players as they come through this parade.
I would say they're
Hey,
having
John
a
and
bit of an
Jocelyn.
issue with crowd control here. The
Hey,
crowds
John
are
and
just
Jocelyn.
surged. I mean, even there's an NOPD car in front of us, and the crowds are pushing all around the NOPD car as well.
Yes, Michael.
Hey guys, keep an eye there and see if you can get your hands out there. Mr. Brees is not only throwing beads, he's also throwing jerseys.
I saw that, Michael. I did see him toss a jersey off the side of the float. And you know what? The folks who are taking home those jerseys really feel like the big winners out here today. If you got a jersey from Drew Brees
himself.
imagine what that would feel like.
Well, I don't know. We're down the line. We have a chance
That's right.
maybe to
So,
catch
John,
one.
we have
I've
to.
got long arms.
That's right. We're going to have to dive in there and try and get one of those.
This is going to be a scrum. I'm telling you.
It
When they
is.
come by, you're going to. People are already keyed up. You can feel that energy right here.
Right, right.
So hopefully they can make their way through this very thick, congested crowd here.
Yeah, I don't
People
know if
just
they can.
jamming in front and behind the
Looking
floats.
backward.
We can't even get close if we wanted to.
Right, looking backward, I'm just going to describe the scene for you as our photographer Patrick stays on Drew Brees in the float. This is the streets are filled. They are jam-packed. It is shoulder to shoulder. I'm going to say that this float is not going anywhere unless we get some other folks in for crowd control.
Can you imagine if Drew Brees or Sean Payton got down off that float and came into this crowd? They would be absolutely mobbed. I swear the crowd would probably just swallow them up.
Yeah, and you can see up there, I'm not as tall as I would like, but I can see the hands going up on the side of the float. People are pushed up right against it, trying to touch the players, trying to give them.
They loaded a lot of throws on there.
Give them that congratulatory high five.
Yeah, people are so keyed up. I saw a guy a moment ago ran out in front and he rolled up his sleeve to show off his brand new fleur-de-lis tattoo he'd gotten on his shoulder.
Yes.
And people are doing everything they can to get attention here from this team that they so admire and are so thankful for.
Yes.
Just a great night out here.
And what is interesting now, just a few seconds ago, I talked about the fans who are following the float through the streets instead of just staying in their place and watching it pass by. Now we have fans so anxious, they are walking toward the float.
Right. Now that's a novel concept for a parade. Have the crowd walk by. The problem is they don't want to leave.
That's exactly
they just
what's
want to get
going
up
on
there
right now. Fans are starting to rush from where we are, just, you know, several hundred feet away, up to the float, trying to get up there because it doesn't look like this float is going anywhere anytime soon.
Well, what I am noticing from the crowd everywhere, I'm seeing flashes popping and cameras snapping. People are just so enthused to get a close-up look. I mean, obviously, you see these guys, you see Drew Brees and you see Sean Payton, you see them on TV, and you see them playing in the Superdome, but that's different to actually get up close this way and see them, you know, the players without their helmets and their face masks on. It's an entirely different experience.
Well, I mean, we really idolize these players. That's what has happened. This city idolizes the players. They idolize Drew Brees. They are heroes to the folks here. And here they move, and the crowd is going wild. Patrick, our photographer, even trying to push folks back. And you know what? I've got my camera, and I'm taking pictures for ABC26.com.
I can raise my arms up a little higher, maybe.
You may be taller
than me. Get a higher picture for you.
But I'm going to try and grab pictures. So just in case you want to go back and look, you can always log on to our website, ABC26.com, and check out my photos of the parade, kind of a bird's eye view from down on the street.
Once again, they're trying to push the crowds back who've surged into the street again to try to get that float rolling on down the line. There's a clear path ahead of them. They just need to get the crowd to move.
Yes, yes. And now we are hearing the sirens, and the float is moving through. So here we go. The fans are just getting ready to absolutely go wild as Drew Brees and the boys in black and gold finally make their way down Loyola Avenue to the adoring, cheering fans. This is so great. And here they come. What a celebration for New Orleans. In fact, I am being pushed right now trying to snap a photo of Drew Brees myself. It is just chaos here as they go by. Drew Brees, of course, trying to untangle the beads. He has a huge grin on his face, and why shouldn't he? He really is America's quarterback, and the Saints have become America's new team. Look at that arm. I don't know if Patrick just caught that on tape or not. Drew Brees is launching these beads across Loyola Avenue, way out into the crowd, trying to get the folks who are standing up in a parking garage across the street. So he's just demonstrating some of his athletic ability as he really launches those beads.
Yeah, he can get a throw on some beads, and he gets that very honestly. I'll tell you, this crowd is absolutely insane. I noticed the cops have come up here behind the float now. They've pressed in with the some of the squad cars flashing the lights and beeping the sirens, and finally getting people to clear out of the way. I think we need a little dose of that.
Right,
just to get the crowds to push back a little bit. We want everybody to get a chance to see this, and if they can't move along, then that won't happen.
Yes. All right, well, let's head back to Michael and Jessica in the studio as I try and go get a picture of Drew Brees, guys.
And see if you can catch a jersey, too. We got a note here to tell folks about the Gretna Ferry as well. All right, thank you, guys.
Yes, there's over a 3-hour wait at the Gretna Ferry. People are trying to make it over the East Bank Canal Street Terminal. So it's suggested that anyone looking to go to Canal Street take a different route. 2,000 people currently waiting to get on the ferry.
Good luck.
Exactly. And we want to thank our sponsors as well. Aaron's Sales and Lease Ownership sponsoring this Saints Victory Parade you're watching here on ABC 26, sponsoring our coverage, that is, on ABC 26.
And you know what?
NOLA 38 and ABC26.com.
Anyone who thinks that this parade is going to end at 7 o'clock.
There's no way.
Oh,
It's 6 o'clock now.
right.
Well, how long was this particular
You know,
float
and it wouldn't be-
stuck?
and
at least 10 minutes.
10
And
minutes.
and it wouldn't be a signature New Orleans parade unless it was fashionably late
All right.
And long.
and long. Exactly. So anyone who's watching this, who's on the latter stages of this event, it may be a while before they get to you.
Exactly.
We were talking about Drew Brees throwing those jerseys. I'm guessing anyone who comes up with one of those may have some battle scars.
Yes.
I mean, this crowd is going nuts.
It's kind of like catching Barry Bonds' 756th home run. The scrum in the stands that night to get a ball that was worth a lot of money. You know, I'm just asking. Look, you know, and this is a wonderful event, but I'm just asking here. Would it have been better served for this parade to just go right down Canal Street? You know, because
Big wide street.
big wide streets, and I know part of it's on Canal Street, and I'm not familiar with all of the logistics and all of that stuff, but you know, I'm just looking at what they're trying to do to get through there on Porges Plaza, and that's a pretty wide street as well. But I don't know. I just think that, you know, this crowd has just continued to mushroom. Yeah. Maybe all of us were a little caught off guard about how many people would come out.
Yeah, I
Well,
think it's going to be more than a quarter of a
And
million.
if it continues to stop like that, which I don't see any reason why it wouldn't,
Right.
in the narrower spots, this parade could go on for
And,
several
and
hours.
this is right out in front of the Superdome, so whatever truck that is not moving, and you're right there at the Superdome before you make a right to go on to Loyola. So you know they've got a long way to go there.
Seems like they need to bring out every member of the mounted patrol unit, because that would certainly get folks out of the way.
Yeah. So this is I don't know. We knew there would be a gigantic crowd at this thing, but I think this, in a lot of ways, the numbers here look almost overwhelming.
Yeah, and I'm surprised too, as Jocelyn and John were saying early on, that they did not put up any of the typical barricades that we see. I mean, I'm
Yep.
surprised they didn't.
All right, I'm trying to peruse some numbers here, and I don't. Let's see. Congratulations, New Orleans. From Plaquemines Parish. Yep. So all the folks in Plaquemines Parish who are wearing their black and gold today.
That's their Plaquemines Parish High Water Emergency Rescue Response Vehicle, I think it is.
Yeah. Well, they were needed in that spot about 4.5 years ago, weren't
They
they?
sure will.
Thank goodness. That's in our history. It's in our past.
And I think that's what makes this celebration so special, this season so special, this
Oh, no
playoff
question.
run so special.
No question. You remember after the hurricane, when there was announced that there would be a Mardi Gras.
Right.
I think there was, even though there was a ton of people out there, it was, sense of relief. And there's
Reggie Bush.
This is the
Heath
Caesar
Evans.
Officers Float.
There's number 25, and he's due to make $8 million next year. And
There's
Not bad.
there's speculation they may let him go someplace like
well,
Seattle.
you know what? Based on the postseason, Michael, I think that's. I personally think that's mindless speculation. And I'm looking back there, and I'm trying to get some more numbers there.
88 Shockey.
There's Jeremy Shockey, who lives in Miami in the off season, and I think he'll be happy to get home after this. And is Deuce up there?
Yes,
as
Deuce
well?
right behind him, number
There's
26, yeah.
I tell you what, he was one of the most excited people on the field
85,
Sunday after the game.
44.
85, David Thomas.
yes.
Heath Evans,
Heath Evans.
a guy who was off to a great 2009. Who was Dolphins in Miami and went on IR.
And to our left and to the right of Heath Evans is Billy Miller, number 83.
Number 83. There's two guys who are out for the season on injured reserve.
Yes.
Billy Miller before the season started, then Heath Evans, I think, got hurt week 7 against the Dolphins. But he was such an integral part of what the Saints did. And there's another guy, David Thomas, 85, who was a pickup and a trade from New England for a 7th-round draft choice, and played very solidly, blocked well in this offense, and caught some passes and did a good job.
And Billy Miller, even though the Saints had a mediocre season, Billy Miller had a terrific season last year.
Yes, he did. He was over 50 catches, and he had a terrific season. I guess this is the lead units up by Gallier Hall now. It's an amazing thing. Yep. And of course, Gallier Hall is where during Carnival time is a place to be seen.
Yes, it is.
And all the politicos will be out today for this because
that's why Bruce is there.
Oh, no question. if it's a photo op, Bruce Katz is at it, right?
Getting some BFT, some Bruce FaceTime,
Bruce FaceTime. Even when he's not here, he's getting
Even
Bruce
when he's
FaceTime.
not, yeah.
This is a massive crowd here.
It is 6 o'clock in the evening. Thank you for watching ABC 26 and NOLA 38 and watching us streaming online live as well at abc26.com. This is a parade. Victory Parade sponsored your viewership here, and we're putting this on with our sponsor, Aaron's Sales and Lease Ownership. And of course, if you're taking pictures, just like Jocelyn is down there on Loyola Avenue, send them to us. Pics at abc26.com. PICS at abc26.com. There's Mr. Mayor.
Yeah. He's bringing the wood.
He's bringing the wood, isn't he?
Well, in some respects, this might be the highlight of his tenure.
And the mayor brought home the wood.
Is he going to speak?
He may have some proclamation. There's the First Lady of the city, Mrs. Nagin.
And there's Jerry Romig, the longtime Saints Stadium public address announcer there on the lower left.
Yeah. He's got some great stories over the years. Yeah, let's go down to our Glenn Boyd. He's there watching it all. Glenn?
Mayor Nagin just walked in here at Gallier Hall carrying a bat, a baseball bat, perhaps the same one Reggie Bush carried for the, I guess it was the Viking Cardinals game. Sean Payton handing the team out some bats back then, saying we're going to bring the wood. And Mayor Nagin came out with that particular bat a few minutes ago. This place was rocking until the mayor showed up. But it's funny, guys, how, sports can unite and bring folks together. I see people from back of town. Let's hear what the mayor has to say right quick.
Are y'all ready for this? Come on now, the Saints have won the Super Bowl.
We're keeping the mayor's audio. You're not hot.
I don't want anybody in the house to be laid back tonight. This is 43 years in the making. If you didn't come here to have fun, something is wrong with you.
Sir, I do not have IFB.
Whether you like the person next to you or whether you love the person next to you. Tonight, we put all that aside. This is one city, one team, one Super Bowl. This is about us, y'all. The city of New Orleans, the region, the entire state of Louisiana. Y'all with it? I said, are y'all with it? All right, let's get into it in a minute. Go, Saints, go! 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 Go, Saints, go!
Mayor Nagin leading the Go Saints Go charge. You guys talked earlier about all the politicals here. Man, they have a slew of them. Congressman Charlie Melanson, U.S. Senator David Vitter, U.S. Senator Mary Landrieu, again, State Attorney General Buddy Caldwell, the local officials as well.
They want you to turn the camera.
Local officials as well, St. Bernard Parish President Tefero, Kevin Davis from St. Tammany Parish. Of course, the mayor talking about this being a regional regional event. The Saints, of course, after the Katrina, took on that atmosphere as far as being a regional team from the Gulf Coast all the way here to South Louisiana. Again, it is hopping with activity here, and we talked earlier about the tapestry here of people from all over coming together, how sports can bring folks together. And you see people who are from the political aisles, from different political aisles, standing next to each other, high-fiving one another, doing this. It's the first time we've been able to do this, saying that we are number one. Again, Governor Jindal talked about it yesterday. I asked him, I said, how is the rest of the state taking this? Because we only hear from this area how people are enjoying the Saints. But he said just yesterday, well, Sunday, in Monroe, Louisiana, there was a pep rally with 1,400 people that took part in this pep rally, trying to, showing their support for the Saints. So truly, the Saints resonate throughout the state and throughout the Gulf region here. Gary Hall, and another thing I cannot believe, next Tuesday, a week from today, we're going to be toasting Rex right here, toasting Zulu, King of Zulu, right here, 1 week from today. Unbelievable that this is occurring right now, this time, and this place, with so much activity, with so much excitement for the next week and a half here in the city. And Ed, you know what that's all about.
Well, no question, buddy. It's. I think people are just. There's such a sense of accomplishment, but I think also a sense that, hey, for so long our football team was last or near last. I can go back to the Katrina year. They were 3-13. They were awful. They were just an awful NFL football team, and it's amazing what they've been able to do since then. Two NFC South titles, Super Bowl champions, conference champions. I don't know. It's kind of like when the Red Sox won in 2004. I was at Game 4 in St. Louis when the Red Sox clinched, and to see the look on the faces of the people from Boston who were there that night, it kind of reminds me of this. It's exactly what you're saying, because you never thought you'd ever be at a Saints victory celebration, but here we are.
And a lot of people probably never thought there would be a Saints victory celebration in Monroe, Louisiana, or in Shreveport, Louisiana, or those places.
And that used to be cowboy country there.
Right.
If you go on I-20 here, on I-20, especially Shreveport, for all those years, used to be real big Dallas cowboy country. And Lake Charles was always, Houston Oilers at the time and Dallas Cowboys.
But if you were to look at the map now and try to map this as to the Saints support, it's almost like a half moon going probably from the Texas-Louisiana border on the west all the way over to Pensacola and the Panhandle, and then probably going farther north than Jackson, Mississippi, where Deuce is from.
But you know what's really amazing, Michael? When we were in Miami and doing our live shots in various locations, it's amazing to me how many New Orleanians who are no longer living in New Orleans came up to me and said, I had one gentleman, hey, I'm from San Diego. I flew in for this moment. My business has taken me out to California, but I'm here for this because I could not miss it. Another gentleman from Texas, people from everywhere who are New Orleans folks who had to reconnect, and they all reconnected. Most of them down in Miami the past weekend. It was amazing.
Well, there were a lot of them on Bourbon Street too.
Exactly.
Glenn Boyd was on Bourbon Street after, for the big party, and there were so many people who would say,
right,
"I now live here, but I was born and raised here," or I now live in California,
right,
but I was born and raised on the West Bank.
As a matter of fact, Adam kept saying, he's never seen so many locals, so many New Orleanians themselves on Bourbon Street.
And, I was listening. It's funny. I was listening to our coverage through my earpiece. In the television business, we call it IFB, and I was listening to you guys on the air as I waited to get on the field in Miami after the Super Bowl. They keep the media back until the trophy presentation, and I was listening to Glenn talking to the people on Bourbon Street. Of course, I don't think anyone's more qualified to have that conversation than Glenn, who is a huge Saints fan and is a native and can really connect with people. And you know, to hear the joy in people's voices that night was amazing. And that's Chris Reese, the up there, number 39 from Georgia Tech, the guy who fell on the onside kick, recovered the onside kick.
Just amazing.
And you know, somebody's holding up. There's Mike McKenzie. Who was with the club for a while. Usama Young, 28. Tracy Porter in the back. Is that Tracy Porter or is that Jabari Greer?
Now, does McKenzie get a ring?
You know, he was on the club for a while. I would say the chances are he would probably get a ring and maybe a little bit of a postseason share.
Because the word was leading up to this game is that Jason David, I believe, and Mike McKenzie were trying out with Indianapolis.
Right. Well, you know, I think if I had to give someone a ring who was not on the roster, I would give it to Mike McKenzie, who for years was a very, you see him there, very solid, you know, individual on this football team. And there's Tracy Porter, who had dancing up there.
Yeah.
He had the pick.
Yeah.
Right. He had the pick. And you know, and one of the things that was amazing about this year is for years the Saints secondary was the laughing stock of this league. And let's be honest, last year they were absolutely horrendous.
Last year, you go back and look at how many games they blew. Just the second half of the season, if those games had not been blown, they would have been in the playoffs.
One of the reasons why is, look, Jabari Greer wasn't here. McKenzie was hurt. And Tracy Porter was hurt for a long time. He played like 5 games last year, and there was no Darren Sharper. So if you want to ask me, the biggest difference between 2008 and 2009 is that you had a quality pass defense and one that produced turnovers, something you never had before.
And what did they do? Triple or quadruple their interceptions this year compared to last year?
They had 26 picks. They had 39 turnovers in the regular season. And if you map that out over a 16-game season, that's 2.5 turnovers a game. It's amazing.
As we found out on Sunday, even one turnover can be huge.
No question. One was enough.
That's right.
All right, let's go back to Jocelyn Lockwood and John Huffman, who have a fantastic view of the parade. What's coming by you guys now?
All right, guys, yeah, we are at a little lull in the parade, and John and I decided to kind of break free of the crowds that were pushing down onto the street. Yeah.
And we have some folks over here. How are you enjoying the parade so far?
Wonderful.
Is it what you expected?
Oh, yeah.
Peach.
It was hard to get here, though, and I live in Mid-City. It took me an hour to get down here.
Well, you got a good position here. Let me ask you the same thing. What do you think of what you've seen so far?
It's beyond the beyond. It couldn't be any better. It's phenomenal for the city. It's phenomenal for you two. It's phenomenal for everybody around here. We love it. We love it.
Love the Saints.
And that shows.
Yes.
It certainly shows with all the folks here. The crowd has just been so enthusiastic. What did you think when you saw Drew Brees standing up there with his arms aloft?
What can you say? He's king. He's king of Carnival right now. No matter who else is king, he is king of Carnival. He is the man. He is phenomenal. He's a great
I saw a
citizen.
sign, Drew Brees for president.
I think he's got some votes in this town.
And I saw another one, Sean Payton for president.
Yeah.
That's how a lot of people here really feel. I mean, like we were talking earlier, Drew Brees is an idol in this city. I mean, he has been for a long time, but this is above and beyond.
And I'll tell you what was impressive. When he started flinging the beads, you know, usually a bead thrower will get halfway back in the crowd. He was hitting the outsides. Well, he's got an arm on it.
There's a parking garage across Loyola Avenue here, and he was trying to hit the folks in the parking garage, and for him, that was nothing.
Was easy.
But he was launching beads across the street, and that was really fun to watch it. Michael and Jessica, I know you said that we needed to try and get a jersey, but I have to admit, we let you down. We couldn't get one.
The crowd
I tried
was
my
too
hardest.
thick. We tried.
We did, and the crowd
Just
was
by
really,
the
it just, you know, as we said, spilled onto the streets.
Yep.
And after Drew Brees, you know, we've had a couple other bands, but we've also had a float that was carrying the wide receivers. And of course, the fans went nuts again because it's the team as a whole. It's not just Drew Brees. Sure, he is our star quarterback, but this is America's new team.
Yeah. You know, when you're standing up there next to the street and when the floats come by with the Saints players on them, you are just moved out. You have no choice in the matter. You're moved out by the crowd. You're going with the crowd flow because there's such a surge up toward those floats. It's just the energy is incredible.
Yeah, the energy is just fabulous, and the emotions here are also running high. You know, I did see one of the band members. And as he went by, I believe he was a drummer, he had a tear streaming down his face because this moment for some is just so overwhelming. The passion that this city has for the team is so great, and to see someone move to tears is just, it's undescribable, and to be out here and to feel the energy, it is undescribable. And we still have the fans, and even though there may be a lull in the parade, these fans are going wild. And you know, as some of them said, it took them an hour just to get into downtown. I can only imagine what it's going to be like leaving downtown. Traffic is just going to be crazy around here all night long. And here's the big thing. When this is all over with, this party is just going to spill into the French Quarter like it did after the Super Bowl.
This crowd is going to float on over into the French Quarter. And you're going to see the party continuing through the night, just like we saw on Sunday night.
And here coming up right now, we have the Saint-Sations behind us, I believe, and this is the Zulu float. Very, very intricate. They're up there cheering their black and gold spirit, and the Saint-Sations don't usually travel with the team during road games. But I talked with a couple Saint-Sations in Miami, and they said this was the first time they traveled with the team, and it was a Super Bowl, and once again, they were just overcome with joy. They were so excited to be in the Super Bowl, and I can only imagine how excited they all are
I certainly
to be
hope
up
that
there.
in this cold weather, they're not wearing those short skirts. But they may be. Who knows? They're sort of covered up there in the float.
And we should mention really quickly, did you see how fast that went by?
Yeah, they're moving
You know,
now.
we still love the Saint-Sations, but it wasn't Drew Brees, and we didn't stop their float like the crowd actually stopped Drew Brees' float.
There's another band passing by right now, and to tell you the truth, I can't, from our vantage point with the crowd so thick, you can't quite see who it is.
Yes.
But we'll see another float coming along behind there.
Very fun out here. We're having a great time, and I don't think any of these fans have even thought about being cold, have you?
No.
Nobody is.
What's the best moment for you so far from what you've seen?
You know what, the whole thing. It has been the most incredible experience. The Saints rock, we rock, this town rocks, and all those people all over the country, they're coming down to New Orleans.
You think it's about time this team and this city got some respect around the country?
Yes, 100%. Go Saints! Go Saints! You rock! You rock!
See, and that is how people here feel, and it's just great to be out here with the fans and the excitement and the fun. They're so excited, they just can't contain
They're just wandering.
We'll check back in with you guys later, but Michael and Jessica, back to you.
How do you spell respect? R-E-S-P-E-C-T for some people, for others, V-I-C-T-O-R-Y.
And for some, rock, R-O-C-K, you
That's
rock.
right.
You know what? To get everybody home tonight, we may need contraflow to kind of
Exactly.
I'm telling you.
open up all lanes of the interstate out.
You know, they were talking about the Drew Brees jerseys. I saw them throw just one of them. I'm not so sure when they hit the ground or out there in the crowd that somebody went home with a full jersey,
no.
that it may have been ripped into
little
pieces.
swatch.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like the Zulu coconut.
Yes.
Which is the signature
It is.
throw in Mardi Gras.
Yes.
If you're able to come away with a Drew Brees jersey tonight, you've really come away with something.
Talk about a piece of memorabilia.
Yeah.
From the man
Certainly
himself,
end up in
too.
a frame.
You know, and again, that's Canal Street. I tell you what, that is a
Look at that. What is that, 15, 16, 17 people deep?
yeah, that's a massive throwing now. You know, you can see in the back, if you look on the back right hand, kind of the right hand corner of your screen, you can see people kind of being able to walk way in the back, and there's Mary Landrieu among the dignitaries out at Gallier Hall.
Something neat about this parade too, just like we talked about the party on Bourbon Street, it was a huge party with a lot of people who are local. And just like the Mardi Gras parades are huge, but we have so many visitors. And sure, we have a lot of people from out of town, but these are local folks.
Well, you know, we may have to give schools off again tomorrow. I know there was no school on Monday.
Because the kids may wind up making it home maybe by
Really?
midnight.
They're going to get home
may
very,
not be
very
home
late
in
tonight.
time.
And I'm trying to pick this out here.
That's Blaine Kern.
Is that Blaine Kern?
Is that Blaine Kern in the middle?
I believe so.
That's Blaine Kern. Mr. Mardi Gras. Hey, Glenn, was that Blaine Kern there?
It looks, yeah, I think it is Blaine Kern, Mr. Mardi Gras. His personal license plate on that car says Hollywood, however.
Hey, Glenn. Hey, Glenn.
Yeah.
You and I need to go celebrate one night over a steak, don't you think?
Oh,
You buy? Is that right?
If you're buying, if you're buying, I'm the
Glenn.
victor here. So I guess you're buying.
Glenn, shame on you. Okay. Shame on you.
But here's a live look at the Marine Band. In front, Gallo Hall, of course, getting a huge applause.
On a clear, we are proud to bear the banner of United States Marines. Who? U.S. Marine Corps. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a delight, a privilege to welcome to the microphone to play the national anthem, Mr.
Jared
Urban
Romick,
Mayfield,
stadium announcer, longtime stadium announcer.
winner of the
Getting ready to introduce Urban Mayfield,
Grammy
who will
Award
play the
and
national anthem.
the Billboard Award.
This should be a good one.
Our man, Urban Mayfield.
Zoom in on Mayfield. Grammy Award winner, Urban Mayfield. Wow.
He also just happened to be the cultural ambassador for the city of New Orleans. Not the Marine Corps.
Hey,
The
there we
Marine
go.
Corps.
Hey,
Oh, y'all know what that is, huh? The Marine Corps.
move it, man. Move it.
The Marine Corps band getting crunk.
Move it, man.
Not the Marine Corps.
That's the Muse's shoe there.
That's a little different for Muses to have Thomas Morstead,
Yeah.
the punter and kickoff man who did such a great job on the onside kick, and of course Garrett Hartley, who had 3 field goals of 44 yards or beyond in the Super Bowl. You talk about a special teams, and a first for Muses, the guys in the shoe. We'll make an exception.
That's an all women crew.
And you know what? Muses is quickly become one of the main events in Mardi Gras. On Thursday night, a huge crowd is out that night for that terrific event. Look at the people. Wow.
I wonder where Garrett Hartley is. He should have been in that shoe too, huh?
Yeah, he was there.
He was there?
It was him and Morstead. Yep. 5 and 6.
He had a heck of a postseason, didn't he?
He did. And you watch him kick in the Super Bowl, and it was a guy who
A lot of confidence.
Suddenly had a lot of confidence.
Yeah.
And making that kick in the NFC Championship game is one that I think will serve him well for a long time. I know Sean Payton said, we think this is a guy who's going to be with us a while. And he was right.
I love the story of him saying that he woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning, Hartley did, and thought that he was going to be in that position to kick a 42-yard field goal, picked up the phone and called his dad, and there it was.
Yeah. Well, what a terrific journey. And I guess that's the lead units there on Bourbon and Canal. And that's Edna Carr High School right there. Beautiful Algiers. They've got
You're watching the Saints victory parade here on ABC 26 and NOLA 38 and streaming live on ABC26.com. Thanks to our sponsor, Aaron's Sales and Lease Ownership, as we watch the Edna Carr Junior High Band. Band director, John Summers. Got a lot of terrific high school bands and junior high school bands in this country.
Well, Edna Carr has a lot of famous alums, and one of them is a guy who had a very, very long NFL career. Patrick Surtain as a cornerback in the league, and he was the quarterback on their 1996 state championship team. 96 or 93. The years are kind of running together here, but he was a heck of a player. And of course, Don Watt, he was their coach for a long time, and then Willie Brooks, who was on that staff and is now at Helen Cox. So there's a proud football tradition on the West Bank, and a lot of great players who have come from the West Bank.
Just to name a few, what, Ed Reed?
Ed Reed was actually Destrehan High School, and Reggie Wayne is a West Banker.
Reggie Wayne
from John Ehret, from the Colts.
Sounds like they're still getting crunk at Gallier Hall. And among those folks down there is our Glenn Boyd. Glenn?
Yes, Jessica, the Yang twins performing live right now, but from my vantage point, we can't swing the camera over to get you a shot of this. Can't give you a reaction shot of, well, they just finished up. It's amazing that one song at these games, these home games this year, how it would whip this Saints fans into a frenzy. And then the players themselves on kickoffs would just get into it. They're jumping up and down and really fired the players up, really got the Superdome into I don't know what the song's going to be next year. Perhaps this song is a holdover again for next year, because I tell you what, it really is something about it. I don't know what the beats, what is it, but it's something about that particular song that really gets the fans going. And it's not in every stadium. It's not in every NF stadium that this particular song is a big hit. It's just an amazing hit here in New Orleans. Again, the Yang twins just performing right to my left here. And you can hear, let's listen to a little bit here. Crank it up.
Yeah. Come on, y'all. All right. All right. We got y'all. Crump. All right, Charles.
All right. Again, Yang twins here performing here in front Gallia Hall. Mayor Nagin keeping everybody, I guess, entertained until the floats start to roll by. James Carville, speaking of politicals and who's who, he's here as well. I saw him a minute ago against Senator David Vitter. Senator David Vitter showing a little rhythm over there, getting down to the Yang twins. All of a sudden, it doesn't seem as cold now, guys. I think everybody's starting to warm up. They're feeling pretty good right now. Ed Daniels, can you hear me?
I can, Glenn. Go right ahead, buddy.
I have a question for you. Well, we got the new mayor here. Let's take a shot of the new mayor, Lieutenant Governor Mitch Landrieu, mayor-elect of New Orleans.
The fire chiefs from all over the region. Welcome, gentlemen.
Big round of applause for Mitch.
Yep. He had almost as good a weekend as the Saints did.
Oh, wow. Yeah, just winning handedly Saturday.
Outright in the first round, and he won by a landslide in the first round.
Yeah.
It was, in fact, Saturday night, Mitch talked about Rita Benson calling him right just before he came out to greet his supporters and told him, okay, now you did your thing. Basically, now we're going to do ours tomorrow. It also got folks fired up. Now, they sure did. And a quick question for you. Sean Payton talking, I guess it was yesterday, saying that, you know, one Super Bowl is great, but he wants to separate himself. And my question is, are the Saints built for to go another one, another Super Bowl or so the next 3 or 4 years?
Well, on the offensive side of the ball, I certainly think they are, Glenn, but I think they're going to have to improve defensively to be able to have a shot at it again. Look, Darren Sharper's had a heck of a year, but he's not going to play forever. He's getting very long in the tooth. So I think at some point you're going to have to draft someone to replace him. You need some more help on the defensive line. I don't know if Charles Grant, frankly, is going to be back. If it's an uncapped year, the Saints can cut him with no penalty. So I think, you know, there's a chance that Charles Grant would not be back. The linebackers have been good, Shanley and Fujita, but both of those guys kind of getting up in years. Jonathan Vilma's not a spring chicken anymore. So I think it's a situation where if you want to stay on top, you know, I think you've got to continue to infuse your roster with talent. But you know, but Sean Payton is right in this regard, Glenn. If you win one, then you've really accomplished something. But if you win two, then in the lexicon of the NFL, then you really are a super achiever. Mike Shanahan in Denver won two. He was fired. Elway won a pair. Joe Montana won multiples.
Which is the reason Peyton Manning wanted it so bad on Sunday.
Right. Joe Montana's won 3. The Steelers of the late 70s, the Steel Curtain and Bradshaw and Swan and Stallworth and Franco Harris, they won 4. So when you get past 1 and you get into multiples, you start to get into elite company. But frankly, you know, the NFL is not set up that way for teams to repeat and to continue to be contenders year after year after year. So if the Saints can do that next year, then, you know, it would be, you know, 10 times, in my opinion, the phenomenal accomplishment that this year has been.
And we were looking at the pussy footage there, kind of new on the scene here in New Orleans, but they certainly put on an entertaining show for a lot of folks in a whole lot of ways.
Glenn, what were you saying, Glenn?
Yeah, one other question. A number of big names came up to do as far as free agency. You're talking about Julius Peppers and also Carlos Dansby. Will the Saints be interested in any players? Could they be interested in any players like that?
I don't know if there would be interest as far as those guys because of the price. I really don't know. You know, one of the things that's interesting, if there is no collective bargaining agreement by March 5th, and we certainly don't think there's going to be, that all of these unrestricted free agents who would be on the market usually are going to be restricted free agents, meaning if they get an offer from somewhere else, their clubs that are currently, that they're currently employed by can match any offer for these players. So I think it's going to be, I don't think based on that, Glenn, that it's going to be a giant year in free agency if it's an uncapped year, because a lot of those unrestricted free agents are going to be restricted free agents. So I think if you're going to really improve your lot this year as an organization, you're going to have to do it in the draft, and you're going to have to do it with some of the lower priced free agents who can come in and help you for a year or two.
Another thing I was quite interesting watching, we didn't get to watch some of the post game because we were on Bourbon Street until the wee hours Sunday night and early Monday morning. But I watched something this morning on one of the networks between Sean Payton and Drew Brees, which kind of stunned me when Drew Brees kind of looked to Sean Payton and said, "Hey, Coach, I never told you this, but I want to tell you this. I love you, man." And it kind of stunned Sean Payton, and they both stood up and hugged one another, and Sean Payton said, "I love you too." I just thought we saw a different side of Sean Payton during this last week. It was a lighter side of Sean Payton that we don't get to see here.
Yeah.
Talk about that for me.
Well, you know, let me just say that the local media never gets to see that. Who is out at the Saints camp? It's all business. And, you know, you were asking about free agency, Glenn. We were looking at a shot there of Charles Grant, 94. Who knows if he's going to be back? Oh. Will Smith, 91, was up there on that float, and you know, he had a great season, and there's no question that he's going to be back. And and he was such an integral part of the Saints' ability to hurry the quarterback this year that they did so well in the postseason. But you know, to answer your question, yeah, you know, it was a little different. Sean Payton on Tuesday morning in Fort Lauderdale. I'd had about 2 hours of sleep and went over to the press conference, and you know, he talked about repeating and about some of the other things, and drooling on the Vince Lombardi trophy as he slept with it in bed. And believe me, that shocked the local media who was around the guy all the time, because when you're around him during the season, it truly is name, rank, and serial number. That's all he's going to give you, and he's almost to the point of beyond paranoid when it comes to discussing injuries. So any kind of remark that gets him off the scripted page is noted, and I think you've seen a lot of that in the last couple of days.
I was telling Adam yesterday that we didn't hear the "it is what it is" from him or any of the players.
You know what? I guarantee you, when mini camp and the media availability start this spring, I guarantee you we'll hear what it is. He's already getting those cranked up and ready to go.
These are some of the Saints players here, Ed. 86, 62.
52.
No, that's not 94. Charles Grant, you were just talking about. 91, Will Smith.
Yeah, and I was looking up there, also up there. Jonathan Casillas, who's a free agent linebacker out of Oklahoma, who was in that scrum, getting the football on the onside kick there to start the third quarter.
That stunned a whole lot of people. That onside kick.
It did, you know, because here's the thing about it, you know, we're looking at this parade and this celebration, but it's 10-6 Colts at the time, and if the Saints don't recover, Peyton Manning's at the 50-yard line with a chance to take a two-score lead.
An instant momentum.
And instead, the Saints got it now. To be honest with you, the Colts went back and scored on the next possession to take the lead. So the Saints not only had to answer once, but twice, and they were able to do that. And you know, you look at Drew Brees, he was 32 of 39. 32 out of 39 in the game, 82% completion percentage.
We're watching the St. Mary's Academy band out there from New Orleans East there, off Shetland Ventura Highway.
Yeah, and the Cougars, there was a school that was inundated by floodwaters during the storm over there on their beautiful campus off the Shetland Ventura Highway. You know, they had a ton of water, but you know, they bounced back. In fact, they were combined with St. Aug and Xavier Prep all over at the school uptown at Xavier Prep over there after the storm.
Jocelyn was talking about seeing some of the high school marchers with some tears coming down their face, and this parade is going to be seen really around the world. So maybe this is a chance, as the Saints, you know, celebrate their Super Bowl victory. It's a chance for them to say, "Hey, look at us. We're back and strong too."
Well, you know what? For the kids, it's a giant moment, and I understand. But for some of us who are a little further along in the journey, who you know, who never thought we'd ever be looking at this, we thought we'd get to Mars quicker than this. To be able to say that you were part of this, you know, I think there's a real appreciation for it.
I guess that explains the headline on the Times-Picayune, the big "Amen."
Amen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some incredible headlines too across the globe from this Saints win on Sunday, and
well, you know, I wish that the people who always ask these Katrina questions in these press conferences that we go to, and I understand they've got to be asked, but they're always asking them of Drew, and they're always asking of Sean Payton. I wish they would try to comprehend that
they came after the storm.
They came after the storm, and two, that the city is on its way back. Now there's some areas who have, frankly, where progress is extremely slow, but you know, some of the portrayals of this place, you know, I hear that from out-of-towners all the time. When I came back after the storm, I couldn't believe how vibrant it was again. Well, you know, I thought it was kind of foolish to talk about somehow that a major American city would die, you know, that we were just going away. I really didn't understand that. But you know, there's still a lot of those Katrina stories being written, especially when you go to a national press conference. Most of the national reporters are asking about that.
Yeah, everything I saw this past week and leading up to the game, people were talking about the all references to Katrina, but they got to understand too. You know, 9/11 happened 9 years ago almost, and and the Trade Center area still has not been rebuilt.
Right.
We're going to go now to Adam and Kurt, who are out there watching some of the festivities as well as we look at the some of the bands here in this Saints Victory Parade. I want to remind you again, this is commercial-free coverage on ABC 26, sponsored by Aaron's Sales and Lease Ownership.
What's up, fellas?
Hey guys, we've been killing time for the past couple of hours waiting for the parade to come our way, and we've been doing that by having the crew of two. That's Kurt Sprang and I playing catch with about 3,000 of our closest friends. They cheer us when we catch the ball, they boo us when we drop it. So, and I guess the big thing that if you can hear me over the din, everyone wants to know, where is the parade right now? Is it at Gallier Hall? Guess they can't hear me. All right, let's talk to some fans here.
Thousands of people here, guys.
What made you brave the cold tonight?
Who dat? Who dat, baby? Who dat, baby? That's what made me brave the cold all the way from Mobile, Alabama. We wouldn't miss this for the world because we believe the Saints are #1 world champions, baby. World champions. Thank you, boys. Thank you. Who dat say gonna beat them Saints? Nobody. Nobody. Who dat say gonna beat them Saints? Nobody. Nobody. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Did she tell you that she's from Monroe?
I couldn't catch that. I couldn't catch that.
She's from out of town. You made the drive in today. Season ticket holders for over 20 years. Let me tell you, there is a crowd here that is every bit as dense as a crowd I've seen for any carnival parade. Hundreds of thousands of people along the line. I would say they're 25 and 30 people deep the entire way. Now, the one thing that's great about this part of the route is you're going to get 2 shots at looking at the parade. Because it's going to go anything like South Florida, I might add.
No. And the anticipation, you can obviously hear it, but every time a cop car or an emergency vehicle comes down St. Charles, people think that it's the parade, and they start going nuts. They break out their camera phones and lift them in the air because they think the parade's coming. So, we're trying to give you a little glimpse of how many thousands of people have yet to see a single Saints player, but are still incredibly enamored by this experience. And even though they've been sitting out here for 2 and 3 and 4 hours in the cold conditions, they couldn't be more excited.
Hey, let's talk to somebody real quick over here. Tell me your name and where you're from.
I'm Tatum Bryan. I'm from Hot Springs, Arkansas.
Why did you come from Arkansas here to see the parade?
Because I've lived here for 14 years, and this city got under my skin, and I love the Saints.
What did you think of the game on Sunday?
It was wonderful. It was crazy wonderful. It was great.
What are you expecting to see in the parade? Anything in particular you're looking for?
Oh, I just want to lay my eyes on the Saints. I want to see the boys.
Everybody having a lot of fun here. Freezing. I can say for a few people, hand grenades are not just for breakfast anymore, Adam.
It might strike you as hot chocolate weather, but you would be surprised how many cold beverages are being consumed, mostly of the alcoholic variety. Something's got to keep them warm.
All right. Let me go ahead and throw it back to you guys. We're in good shape out here. We're waiting for the floats and for Peyton and the rest
Bring
of the
on
Saints.
the parade.
Adam Norris and Kurt Sprague there on Canal Street, right by Rubenstein's once again.
Yeah, little cold drink and some antifreeze mixed in. that kind of.
And that is the worst thing for you if you're cold.
Yeah.
Antifreeze?
Oh no!
Really?
No, alcoholic beverages.
Well, that's what I was. That's what I was alluding to.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's the
Then
New
antifreeze.
That's the New Orleans version of antifreeze.
Okay, gotcha.
And we saw up there as Kurt and Adam were doing their live shot. Pierre Thomas was up there, number 23, having a terrific time.
We're going to head to Gallier Hall now. Senator Mary Landrieu speaking in front of the replica of the Lombardi Trophy.
That doesn't believe
Well,
they
in
can
fact,
actually
Mary, let's
get the job done or do it right.
They're getting ready to toast Mr. Benson and Rita LeBlanc.
Know if dreams really do come true. Tonight we know they do. God bless you. Thank you for leading this city and this region back to greatness. And thanks the Saints.
Next up, we have the governor of the great state of Louisiana, Governor Bobby Jindal.
Tom, Gail, Rita, thank you for proving to the world that Louisianians are world champions. Thank you for bringing the first of several Super Bowl victories back home to the state of Louisiana. God bless you. Congratulations.
All right. And finally, I want everybody to toast the Benson family. To the Benson family.
To the family.
We wish you continued happiness, health, and future success. May you and your organization continue to inspire people to come together and overcome the odds. To many more Super Bowl champions for the Who Dat Nation.
Hey!
Hail Saints! Hail Saints! Hail Saints! Now drink up.
Hey!
Mayor Ray Nagin, Rita Benson-LeBlanc, Mr. Tom Benson on the Grand Marshal float, but in Endymion float. Mayor Nagin still talking.
And for Miss Rita, we also have an award for you. We want to give you the Crystal Fleur-de-Lis Award, presented to you, Tom Benson, for your contribution.
Could you also give Mr. Benson our microphone, please, so everybody can hear him?
And finally, Mr. Benson, we also have for you and your family the keys to the city of New Orleans.
He's been having that for a while.
And God bless you.
Tom Benson bought this team back in 1985 from John Meekum Jr. Politics involved in just about everything in Louisiana. And Louisiana, Governor Edwards at the time, seeing that this team was going to move Jacksonville, Florida, and kind of recruited Tom Benson to buy the team. Spending over $70 million. Of course, the Saints, according to Forbes magazine, worth about 10 times that now. So certainly a wise and a good investment. Some 25 years ago, Tom's famous slogan, "We're working to win. We're working to win a Super Bowl." And some 25 years later, he delivered. Dancing Tom has his umbrella. The only dancing NFL owner, with his beautiful wife, Gail, at his side. Tom, you're gonna do this again in just a few days.
Tom Benson there on the Endymion float there with his wife Gail. You heard Glenn there narrating that. And a toast there to the Saints and the Benson family. It took 25 years for the Benson family to get it done, but they got it done.
You know, the one thing that I think people lose a little perspective on is, you know, the time that he's owned the club hasn't been all bad. In fact, when Tom Benson bought the club in 1985, that was the end of the Meekum years, and Bum Phillips was the head coach, and Bum Phillips was dismissed 4 games left into the 85 season, and the first thing that Tom Benson did as the owner, his first major move was hiring Jim Finks, which was a tremendous decision. And of course, Jim Finks brought Jim Mora here, and the Saints had many, many good years. They won 12 games in '87. They won, made the playoffs for the first time, and then there was a string of 3 consecutive playoff appearances, 90, 91, 92. And those 91 and 92 teams won 11 games and then 12 games. But the problem is that in those years, you were up against the 49ers, the Cowboys, the Giants, the Bears, the Redskins. Those were the only clubs that gave the Saints trouble because they truly were the elite of the NFC. So I think the timing was wrong for that club, who had a lot of great players on it. And of course, Ricky Jackson was a fixture on that team and was elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame on Saturday. So what happened was we got into a little barren stretch after that from 92 to 2000, which is Jim Haslett and Randy Mueller's first year here. The Saints did not make the playoffs, did not have a winning season. And it was a time of a lot of frustration here, and there was a lot of talk about a new lease and location and what was going to happen. And of course, then the new 10-year agreement was signed in 2001, but we had that little out clause in it that all of a sudden, whoop, came to fruition in 2006, right. And there was a tremendous amount of nervousness about what was going to happen with the future of this club. But I think the leadership of Paul Tagliabue, the former NFL commissioner, was just phenomenal for the city. And Roger Goodell, the current commissioner who succeeded Paul Tagliabue, had a lot of great things to say about New Orleans in Fort Lauderdale. So, it not only is our immediate future bright, but it looks like our future as an NFL city for a long time is bright. And I don't think the Saints will ever leave New Orleans. I know it's not going to happen in my lifetime, and I don't see it 50 or 100 years from now. I don't think it'll ever happen.
That'd be a good thing. The people here deserve a good team.
Well, and it'd be hard to leave fans like this. I mean, I can't imagine.
Number one, the Saints belong to the city, even though Mr. Benson and whoever owns the team in the future, right. The Saints belong to this community. And number two, with the economic situation throughout the country now, it's going to be hard to convince municipalities
to build a stadium.
To build stadiums, right. to lure teams away, because frankly, you just can't afford it anymore, especially in the current economic climate. Now, we all know that can change and things will improve.
And especially if you're going to build to try to compete with the Jerry Jones in Texas.
Yeah, but you know what? Here's one of the great things about the NFL is that, in a lot of ways, the playing field is somewhat leveled because of the shared revenue. Now, you have the non-shared revenue, which the Cowboys are going to have a ton of. But what amazes me, the Cowboys have all this money, but they won their first playoff game in 13 years in this postseason before they lost to Minnesota in the divisional playoffs. So, if throwing money at it were the only thing that made you good, then Daniel Snyder of the Washington Redskins would have a closet full of Lombardi trophies, and he has 0. So I think you've got to be judicious about how you spend and who you spend it on.
That's a team with no chemistry.
Well, yeah, they've had a lot of problems.
Yeah,
but you know what? As the Saints have shown you, you can build a quality roster from a lot of different aspects. But if you don't have that great quarterback play in a line to protect him, then you're gonna have issues. And look, Drew Brees is a tremendous player, but the one thing the Saints have done is they've drafted a quality offensive line around him. Jari Evans and Carl Nicks, both mid-round draft choices. They're starting guards, very good players. Jonathan Goodwin, a free agent. John Stinchcomb, a second-round pick. When he came in the league in 2003, number 78, a lot of people thought he was a bust and he would never play at a high level, and he was selected to a Pro Bowl. And of course, Jamal Brown, who was out this year, replaced by another mid-round draft choice, Jermon Bushrod, who did a solid job. But without those things kind of working hand in hand, you're not going to really be able to get anywhere.
You're looking at commercial-free Saints Victory Parade coverage here on ABC 26 and NOLA 38 and streaming live on ABC26.com. Sponsored, of course, by Aaron's Sales and Lease Ownership. This is a look at Canal Street here, Canal near Bourbon.
And you would swear by looking at the numbers there that it was Saturday or a Sunday night.
Mm-hmm. Right. And that's that NOFD steam engine built way back in 1896. That was built specifically for the city of New Orleans. That's actually going to be rolled out in 3 recent parades. A parade coming up in Deming, I believe it is, on Saturday the 13th.
Oh, really?
And also going to be in the 2 other parades coming up in March after Mardi Gras season.
And is that looks like Tom Benson there? Is that Mr. Benson there? Yeah. Is that him? Yep, that's him.
That is him. Yes,
up there at Gallier Hall. Well, he's got his own doubloon for Saturday night.
Oh, really?
With his face on the doubloon on both sides of the doubloon that he's going to be throwing out. So, I won't get to see any of that, but it's I'm sure it's a tremendous thrill for him.
Talking about the crowds, I mean, this area was very serious about this parade. We had gotten some calls concerned that 5 o'clock was too early, people weren't going to be able to get off work.
Right.
And then we started getting the calls about offices closing,
right.
schools letting out early. So, there was a lot of effort made to make sure that people would be
Right.
able to attend this parade.
Well, I think one of the things about 5 o'clock too is that it allows the children to get down and see some of this.
Right.
All right, let's go down to our Gallier Hall location. Glenn Boyd's been watching some of the festivities there as Mr. Benson and Gail Benson and Rita Benson LeBlanc just rolled by. And about 10-15 minutes ago, the mayor and the others there toasted the Benson family. Glenn?
In fact, Michael, the float is just now leaving Gallier Hall in front of the Federal Reserve right now. Mr. Benson having a good time, guys. He's been twirling that umbrella. Really having a good time here. And Eddie, we're talking about Mr. Benson buying his team back in 1985, and he really did so. I don't say as a favorite for Governor Edwards, but at the time the state was in such in some bad economic times. To lose a business like the Saints would really send a bad message across the country, and Mr. Benson perhaps did a favor for Mr. Edwards in buying the team at that time. So there's those who say you can love him or hate him, but you got to give him his ups for stepping in and buying this team, and certainly a big investment, a good investment right now. And so you can look back at that right now and say that $70 million is the team's almost worth $1 billion right now. So Mr. Benson certainly stepping up at a time when the state really needed him to do just that.
Hey, Glenn, can you hear me?
Jim Romick back at the mic.
Hey, Glenn, can you hear me, buddy? Well, one of the things that I think people
Drew
need to
Brees announcing that Drew Brees, I guess Sean Payton riding the Bacchus Kings float. That float should be arriving here very shortly, guys. Of course, it's going to be a big round of applause when those guys show up here. Some wonderful bands in this particular parade. I mean, I played in a band in high school for a number of years, a drum major, matter of fact, and a good band. When you have good bands in the parade, you're in a good parade. When you got the best of the best, it's a good parade, guys. And this is a strong parade here tonight. McDonough 35.
Glenn, can you hear me?
Yes, Ed.
All right, we have a programming note to tell you here. Coming up on NOLA 38 at 7 o'clock, we're going to join regular programming there. That's 90210 at 7 o'clock on NOLA 38. But on ABC 26, we're scheduled to have a recap from last week's Lost, a narrated version that is not going to take place. We're going to preempt that. We're going to go ahead and continue with our parade coverage here on ABC 26 and also continue to stream it live on abc26.com. Of course, again, commercial free, thanks to Aaron's Sales and Lease Ownership, our sponsor here, to this Mission Miami Accomplished Victory Parade.
One of the people that really deserves a lot of credit in this whole process here, post Katrina, I think, is the executive vice president of SMG, Doug Thornton, who runs the Superdome, for his work. That was a $258 million renovation of the dome after the storm, and we were in our temporary headquarters after the storm. Remember all of that, watching them rebuild that roof and really rebuild the entire structure. And I think, at a time like this, a guy like Douglas and his staff really deserve a lot of credit, because Doug worked very close with Commissioner Goodell, who was Paul Tagliabue's assistant at that time. And they worked through all the logistics here, and to get that building turned around in the space of about 13 months and to have it ready for football again, even though it wasn't finished, was just an enormous accomplishment. So, you know, as we're handing out kudos here tonight, I think that's one guy that deserves a lot of credit for what he was able to do.
And once again, our programming note here, you're watching WGNO ABC 26 and NOLA 38, your CW station. You're both in New Orleans, Louisiana. For those of you watching the parade coverage on NOLA 38, 90210 is up next. And you can continue to watch our Mission Miami Accomplished parade coverage here on ABC 26. It's cable channel 11 in most places. We'll have more Mission Miami parade coverage coming up on NOLA 38 at 9 o'clock. And of course, we are streaming this live on abc26.com, commercial free, thanks to our sponsor, Aaron's Sales and Lease Ownership.
Look at those people. Isn't that amazing?
It is.
You know, I know there were some questions about the 5 o'clock start time, but to me it turned out to be. I think that was because if the parade had started at 7 o'clock,
they're going until midnight.
They go on to midnight 1 o'clock, and they have to call another school holiday.
And as a matter of fact, we were talking about the State Aug marching band an hour and a half ago, and it's just now reaching Canal Street.
Right.
But they have managed to keep it moving. I don't know how they've done it, but because that crowd at Gallier Hall, at Loyola was just.
But you look, Jess. If you look right there in the shot where Adam and Kurt were standing, the one thing you have there is barricades. And those barricades are there for the carnival parades. And they're up. And that area right there on Loyola and Poydras right there by Poydras Plaza, where they went down Poydras and made a right, that is usually not on any parade. On any parade route. Usually you have to get to Howard Avenue before you start seeing barricades again, and that area was not barricaded.
So the rest of the route was prepped for a parade and ready to go.
It didn't, because, you know, I drove down Orleans Avenue today, and the barricades are already out for the Endymion parade, so maybe you need to ship in barricades from somewhere else, and we were just barricade deficient tonight because of all the places that needed them.
Kurt and Adam said there are 25, 30 people deep.
That's unbelievable.
On both sides of those barricades.
Well, as someone who, you know, like I said, you don't really understand the enormity of those crowds until you're really looking down at them. And on Canal Street, that is just an incredibly wild scene. Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Okay, I didn't get any cues. I didn't know my mic was hot. There's a little bit of noise out here. I mentioned 25 to 30 people deep. It'd be deeper if we didn't have these buildings that have been here for 250 years. People are all the way to the businesses on Canal Street. Everybody's bundled up, but every time we get a little more activity here, and as you look down here, you can see we're starting to get the emergency vehicles. So people are starting to warm up a little bit, get a little bit more into the mood, because they've been waiting for hours for this parade to start.
And you should have heard the din when the convoy of police officers on motorcycles showed up. You would have thought that it was Drew Brees and Sean Payton on the Bacchus float. They received quite a reception, so it just gives you a small taste of what the reaction will be like when they finally start seeing some Saints players and coaches. These people are eager to see this parade.
One other thing, I think we've got a mass cam shot. If we can take that, let me know when it's up. Okay, it's up. That gives you a better idea of what we're looking at right here at Royal and Canal Street. Thousands and thousands of people. They're 15 and 20 deep on the sides, on the sidewalks, and then at the center, I'm pretty sure you can see in the median where the neutral ground where we normally have the streetcar slope.
I see a float, Kurt. We see our float.
And it looks like we may have our first
St.
float.
Charles about to take the left-hand turn onto Canal Street. It'll proceed down Canal Street for about 3 blocks, take a U-turn at Burgundy, and come back down Canal Street. And our best indicator as to who's coming is by keeping our eye on the balconies, which are absolutely packed, but they have a bird's eye view of what's ahead, and they've exploded with excitement. As a result, the people down here have been given some indication that the parade, in fact, is very, very close.
Here, let's see if we can get a shot of the parade. Jeff, give us a shot of the... There, buddy, there we go.
It's a float, everybody!
I should also mention that some of the businesses here rented out these balconies that line the route, and one of the businesses that did the black and gold shop. Tell me those employees haven't been going above and beyond the call of duty to fill all the demand for all the Saints merchandise. Well, they have rented a balcony and they've got their employees up there. Kind of a big thank you for them. So it looks like we're getting started with the parade right here. Guys, we'll send it back to you, but it looks like it's going to be a fun evening. It's just getting started here on Canal.
All right, thank you guys. You see the fun, as he said, they're getting started on Canal. Folks have been waiting quite a long time. Some folks lining up probably late this morning, maybe even early afternoon to see some of this.
Yeah.
They've been out there a while, and it's cold too.
Well, you know what though? Look, you know, it's just a, you know, when it's cold and you've got something to distract you, this is as good a distraction as you're ever going to have.
And I think it's kind of like the party on Bourbon Street. There are a lot of people who wouldn't typically go out to Bourbon Street, but they really wanted to be a part of this. And
right.
So a lot of people wanted to be out there today to say they were a part of this historic parade celebrating this huge event for the city and the
Because
Saints.
let's face it, honestly, you don't know when this is going to happen again.
Yeah,
you know
you never
you appreciate it.
You appreciate it because you never know. You know how hard it is to win one.
All right.
And here's a toast now to Drew Brees at his offensive line.
Come on, lads. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, the Bears egging on the offensive line, and Drew Brees is dancing. Drew Brees is cutting the step.
Hey, Drew.
Not only can he toss that rock,
all right, sister.
Looks like you got a little rhythm there. You can get down.
Say, gonna beat them, say. Who that? Who that?
Those guys
Who
are having
that
some fun.
say, gonna beat them, say.
I got a little something for y'all. You want this Pinnacle Award? They don't care. Give it to them.
The mayor's trying to give the offensive line and Drew Brees something, and the tractor's pulling off. The mayor says, well, they don't care.
There we go.
Yeah, these guys are just having a lot of fun. I mean, you can only imagine how they're feeling right now. This is probably a first ride for all these guys. Of course, Drew Brees is going to ride again next week as well, and Bacchus had the crowd going, seeing a different side of Drew Brees there, guys. This weekend, right? This weekend, Bacchus. Sunday night, right? Sunday night.
General Manager of the Saints, Mr. Mickey Loomis. Man who has helped.
There's that trophy. That's what you wanted to see, Michael.
That's what I've been waiting to see, the Vince Lombardi Trophy, named after the great coach from the 1960s of the Green Bay Packers, who won quite a few championships and a couple of Super Bowls to boot.
It was so great to see Drew Brees up there just dancing and enjoying it. We heard from him a couple days ago. He said, you know, I just want to get a good night's rest. It's been hard to sleep. And it looks like he's gotten that rest and is able to really enjoy this. I think after this parade and seeing all the fans is really going to be able to sink in for these guys.
It certainly is. When they have a chance to get some rest and clear their heads. But that's a wonderful sight for the city to finally see the Vince Lombardi Trophy come here, as opposed to going to other places multiple times. There it is once again, Tiffany made, sterling silver. This thing they say is worth about $13,000, $14,000, but probably worth a whole lot more than that to the teams that win the Super Bowl.
How heavy do you think that thing is, Michael?
I saw something about the weight of it. I'm not sure. It's not that heavy, but.
I was going to say, because he's sure hoisting it up in the air several times. It could just be adrenaline, though.
Weighs about 7 pounds.
Oh, okay.
Stands 22 inches tall and takes 72 man-hours to craft, I'm told. And how appropriate that that Coach Payton, there he is kissing it, that Coach Payton would hold this particular trophy because it shows the ball, it's built as the ball is in a kicking position. And of course, he may become even more famous for that call to open the second half of the Super Bowl with an onside kick. He's wheeling that thing.
250,000 people estimated to attend this, but I think we all agree that that was a conservative estimate. And
Yes.
you know, when you consider 30,000 people were at the airport yesterday just to welcome them back
Right.
home.
Because we've seen, as Kurt and I think Adam were saying, you 15, 20 people deep in some of these spots where the sidewalk would permit.
Right. And sure, many pushed around the corners.
A terrific day for the city of New Orleans, for the state of Louisiana, for the Gulf Coast to see the Hoodettes lining up to cheer on their New Orleans Saints.
It's good to see the Yin Yang twins make the trip to New Orleans for the performance there at Gallier Hall. Had an opportunity to interview those two. They are quite a pair. Trying to explain to me what get crunk means. Just means get up and get excited. And that's what it is. Do whatever you want to do. I guess we could say Drew Brees was getting crunk.
Yeah, he was getting crunk. We saw a lot of Hoodettes in Manatee Sunday night getting crunk too, I guess, dancing in the streets.
I know Sean Payton got that big contract a year ago. I think there was a few eyebrows raised about that, but he certainly earned his money this year, didn't he?
He did. Clydesdale's horses once again. Budweiser Clydesdale horses.
Interesting little tidbit. They have to be 6 feet tall in order to qualify to be a Clydesdale. And
they only have about 250 of them at a time, I think. Parade once again has come to a stop.
we've seen a lot of great high school bands, and like you were saying, Michael, their schedules are really busy, especially right now at Mardi Gras season, but I doubt many of them had their feelings hurt when they found out they had to march in one more parade.
Not at all.
This is the parade of the season.
It's one thing to be put on display with the to lead the crew of Zulu or any of the other crews, but to lead the crew of the Saints, Drew Brees and the Saints, is a whole different experience.
Mayor Nagin is at the podium again. We're going to listen in and see what he's saying to the crowd there.
Outstanding football players known as our wide receivers.
He's welcoming the float full of wide receivers.
4 players here at Gallia Hall, arriving on a Rex float. Devery Henderson, Robert Meacham. Boy, he had a spectacular game on Sunday. Devery Henderson out of LSU. Lance Moore. Lance Moore. Big Coaster, Marcus Coaster is on there as well. Harper. Throw me something, mister. Lance Moore. Who made that spectacular reception for that 2-point conversion. Didn't play that much this year, but boy, he came up big Sunday. And all of these guys look like they were having a great time. Talking to some of those guys yesterday, and they were all looking forward to taking part in this parade. Some of them have never even experienced Mardi Gras. So to have this happen, and on top of Mardi Gras next week, they've gotten a real good dose of what it's all about here in New Orleans. the wide receivers.
Melanie Newman riding with her husband. Hey, Melanie, throw some beads.
Haven't seen Reggie Bush. Don't know if Reggie Bush is riding. Reggie is riding, I'm told. I wonder will Kim ride along? Jeremy Shockey and Reggie Bush are riding on another float. This is amazing, guys. I mean, this is like Endymion. This is like Zulu. I mean, the enthusiasm out here. It's the real deal. Saints General Manager Mickey Loomis riding this float as well. I guess you can call him the architect of this Super Bowl world champion Saints. Mickey getting into it. Wasn't quite happy yesterday at the airport, though. See, Braden Egan has now donned a championship hat. He's now wearing a Saints cap, baseball cap. Warren Easton Senior High School Band marching by right now.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty, so I was going to the chest with the egg. Then I was coming back and picking it up, bringing it back, and doing it.
12 floats in this parade. 46 units total.
Hey, Glenn, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Yeah, you were asking
Go ahead,
about
Ed.
Reggie Bush earlier and Kim Kardashian. We saw Reggie on the float with Shockey and Billy Miller and Heath Evans and a few of the other stars, but we did not see Kim Kardashian.
She's somewhere around, though, guys, somewhere.
I know you were looking for her.
I did hear that he was taking her to the parade, so I don't know, but we certainly didn't see her.
Okay, well, we'll look out for her.
I'm sure you will.
You're there for the players, Glenn, the players.
Are we trying to capture? A player. Yeah. Well, she may be over here at the at Gallia Hall there in the grandstand.
And all this time, you don't think you would have spotted her yet?
Oh, I would have spotted her. I would have.
You're looking at Canal Street once again, looking right at St. Charles and Canal. Rubenstein's right there on the corner. And just a reminder, you're looking at the special Mission Accomplished Victory Parade here on ABC 26 and streaming live on abc26.com on the air commercial free. Thanks to our sponsor, Aaron Sales and Lease Ownership, making this a commercial free coverage for you, the viewer, here on ABC 26.
And it's hard to see here with this view, but we're told this is the Bacchus King float with Drew Brees.
Yes, that's it.
And this is the float that caused the backup early on in the parade, but now that we're on Canal Street, we're moving, like Ed said, there are barricades there, so it's keeping the crowd back a little bit. But earlier on, they were right up on that float.
Do they
Stopped
have any
for about
beads
10
left?
minutes.
I see a lot of the guys there with their cameras and taking pictures and all, some of the players, but I don't see much. There's Bruce
There we
Brees.
go,
Yeah,
there
he's
we go.
busting up another bag. They're about to throw some breeds.
A little dancing, a little
Yeah.
bead throwing.
Got to do that again Sunday, huh?
It sure does.
Better take care of that wing. You know, don't want to damage that wing. That's a integral part of the future.
It sure is.
And you know, the mayor of Shreveport has sent a letter to the governor and Mayor Nagin requesting that the Saints go to Shreveport because he wants the city there wants to put on a parade for them. Don't know how that's going to work out. But.
Yeah, well, that's going to work out for them. I think they just have to be satisfied with turning their TVs on and watch this.
They may be paraded out. Huh?
Because I think after Mardi Gras and after the next few days, a lot of these guys are just going to, go into a little off-season hibernation, which is what most NFL players do. But until work starts again in earnest in March. But yeah, I think they need a vacation. And
they've had a long season since since July.
You go back to like the 25th or 26th of July, and look, the way it goes now in the NFL, the off seasons are long. You got OTAs, which is another name for spring practice. You got all the meetings and all the things they go through. So, football really is about a 10 or 11 month a year job for these guys. So they need some time off as well.
You're looking at Drew Brees here. Third string quarterback, Chase Daniels, also Mark Brunell, and some of the offensive line there, as John Madden called them, the most valuable protectors of Drew Brees, keeping him up and giving him time to throw the ball to some of his extraordinary receivers. And he threw to 8 different or 9 different receivers on Sunday. Is that right, Ed?
Yeah, and you know what? That's not unusual. Not unusual at all. And at 64, Zach Street was a guy who was a 7th round pick who really was a big contributor. So, again, this roster up and down the line is giving you some great contributions.
Certainly is.
They have a DJ up there with that? Oh,
You're looking at one side of Canal Street here.
That was the Brother Martin band right there, huh? Cheerleaders and band. Yep.
Look at that crowd.
Well, now what's happening is the parade's passing on both sides.
Right.
So the people in the middle get a 2-for-1.
They sure do.
Here are the Bensons again.
He got his umbrella out.
Yes, he does.
He's getting crunk too.
Yes, he is.
That's a staple on Sunday when the Saints have a big victory. We didn't see that umbrella much over the last, 15 years, but the last couple of years we've seen it a lot. We saw it a lot in 2006, and of course this year we saw it a ton.
This is so special because this franchise has had some really rough years. But the interesting thing about it is despite how bad season has been from season to season, game to game, loss to loss, the folks, just as they've shown up today, have shown up in the Superdome to watch this team.
Now, they may have had a bag on their head.
They may have had a bag.
But they didn't give up those season tickets.
Well, when you put a bag on your
Still
head
there.
and the team is losing, that's kind of a sign to the ownership to get it right.
Well, and also, win or lose, it's telling you that you care.
That's right.
Right.
So in this city, never
Let's listen to the
stop
band
caring.
for just a minute.
Yeah.
I'm fine. How are you? Okay, I can't hear them. I can hear you, but when they start talking, I'm getting too much background noise. I can only hear them when I'm actually watching.
That's the Brother Martin Band there. Marching once again, and as Ed was explaining earlier, if you're just now joining our special coverage here on ABC 26, the Brother Martin Marching Band there, kind of the alma mater of Saints owner Tom Benson, who went to St. Aloysius, is that
St.
correct?
Aloysius.
A graduate of 1944.
Right, it was St. Aloysius and Coeur Jesu merged to make Brother Martin in the late 60s.
So this is now Canal Street here. As you see, look at all those people. Holy cow. Dauphine, you're watching here, Dauphine at Canal. And one of the marching bands there at the bottom of the screen. And on the other side of the screen, on the left side, you're watching the bands actually going up, floats going up in the opposite direction.
There are a lot of kids in the crowd, but I think we're right when we're saying this party is going to go on into the night on Bourbon Street again tonight. Just with all the excitement.
Right, because from where they are right now, basically at Dauphine and Canal Street, we're talking about another half mile or so to the convention center about?
No, well, you've got to go down Canal and then make a right on Chapatulas, is that correct? And then go down toward the convention center. So you probably got, you know, probably close to a mile or so, maybe a little longer before you get down there, because Dauphine's down there by Rampart, a block off. So you got a ways to go yet before you make that right turn and then head down Chapatulas.
Wow.
So
stand up and get crunk.
This is, I tell you what, for a short route, this has been this has been a long parade.
Well, it's nice though that they've been moving slowly so people can see them and catch something from one of the players. Kurt and Adam are on Canal Street, where the crowd is 25 to 30 people deep on either side of those barricades.
I think they can hear us,
and they have finally started to see those floats that they've been waiting
guys,
for.
It's still thick. There's probably 35, maybe 40 people along the sidewalk side of Canal. Not nearly as thick on the neutral ground side, but it's a thick presence out here. And the crowd's ready for the parade. This is actually the first float that'll be passing by our vantage point. And everyone's been eagerly anticipating this. We've seen a couple of marching bands. St. Aug's Marching 100. We just saw Brother Martin along with everyone else. And the float's finally here. And that giant Lombardi trophy looms in the distance there.
This appears to be Tom Benson's float. I don't know how high up he is here, but if I can toss a mic up to him or something, I'll see if I can get him to talk to us. But right now, we're at a bit of a lull. Things have kind of slowed down for a second. It's interesting because the crowd is so jazzed and has been waiting for hours to see this, and now that it's here, I don't think they mind too much unless they're too farther down and haven't been able to see the Saints owner yet. But if they're around him right now, this is great because they're getting a good look at him.
The vibe, Kurt, has been a little bit different than what we saw the night after they won the Super Bowl, the night of the Super Bowl win for obvious reasons. I think people are a little bit more sedate. The cold certainly has something to do with it. These people have been sitting out here for 3 and 4 hours, so they're not nearly as wound up, as hysterical as they were after the game. But there's still a lot of love, still very appreciative. When the cops came by, when the firefighters came by, they were giving high fives, and there's just a real sense of community, a real sense of unity that maybe you don't see at all at Mardi Gras parades. Those are more about people there trying to get the throws, a little bit competitive in that respect, but here, I think it's just a real sense of community, the common purpose being the Saints, and it's a little bit different feel than we've seen for normal Mardi Gras parades or even the celebration after the Super Bowl was over.
No, I can definitely say that there was a real sense after the game of, oh my gosh, is this really happening? Really? Somebody pinch me, somebody pinch me. But these people aren't there. Right now, these people are ready to celebrate, have fun. They understand that, in fact, they are the Saints are the champions. And I don't know if you can see, there's another float making its way. We're right at the point on Canal Street where the floats are going to come from St. Charles. They're going to make a left-hand turn, and they're going to go all the way down to Burgundy. And that's where they make the hairpin and come back this way. And we're just waiting for Saints owner Tom Benson to make his way down here. I know we've already seen Drew Brees and his float make the turn to go down towards Burgundy and then turn around and come back this way. So he's in queue, he's in line. But right now it's just kind of a slow go as we wait on things to move along.
And to give you guys an idea of how fans out here have been passing the time over the past 2 or 3 hours, sporadic Hudak cheers would break out occasionally when people, I think, when things got a little too quiet. Kurt and I were playing catch with mini footballs with these folks for
in excess of 2 hours because they just wanted to be out here and get a prime location to see the parade come by, but there wasn't a whole lot to see. And now they're finally being rewarded. So we're going to take a walk up here. The parade finally is moving again, and let's see if we can get a close-up look at who's throwing, what they're throwing, and see if they'll maybe have a second to chat with us. Again, we're at the corner of Canal Street and Royal. Royal heading down towards the border. And the intensity and the excitement starting to pick up, as you might imagine. This is Tom Benson's float. That's Saints Chief Financial Officer Dennis Lauscha, and I have some golden beads myself. Dennis is a local guy, went to Jesuit High School. He's probably been in some Mardi Gras parades, but this one he's particularly excited about. We have the Bensons on board here, as well as... Wow, the excitement just picked up here a little bit, guys. What's next? Giant spotlights. Nothing says Mardi Gras like giant spotlights. And guess what? The Yin Yang Twins. That's a shocker. And that's the real thing. That's just not a recording. So Kurt, after many long hours in the cold, the excitement's starting to pick up here a little bit.
I want to see if we can get some of the fans and just give us their impression. What do you think of finally getting to see the team?
Who that?
Right. It's been a bit of a wait, but they're finally arriving. Your thoughts? We've already had the owner come by. How's your evening going?
Going great. Glad to be here.
Where are you from?
Mississippi, Meridian.
I can definitely say that the Black and Gold Nation is expanding. The borders are getting bigger and bigger. We've talked to people from Mobile. We've talked to people from Arkansas. We've talked to people from just about everywhere along the Gulf Coast.
Take a look right now at the McDonough 35 band, the Ron Eagles, looking regal in their customary colors.
Can I borrow this little guy for a second? Can I borrow him? What's his name? Hey, buddy! You want to go dance with me? I promise I'll bring him right back. As McDonough 35 makes its way through, we have a young Saints fan here from Robert. This is Landon. What do you think, buddy? Who that? What a face, huh? He's 15 months old.
Which one of the three has the face for TV? I think it's this guy.
The guy in the middle is going to steal the show every time. But you can see how bundled up everybody is here, and I can tell you, it is downright cold here. Not chilly, flat out cold here. Right, buddy? Yeah, come on, dance. Can you do it?
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Kurt Sprang is stealing babies from the audience. It must be a Saints Super Bowl victory parade.
Probably not quite old enough to say.
We got some players coming up.
Let's get back to the floats. I'm gonna deliver Landon back to his mother. Here we go, here's Drew Brees.
And his band of merry men.
Get ready, everybody's gonna go crazy.
See if we can get a mic in on some of these world champions. There's the always chatty Carl Nix. Carl! Nick, how's the ride, Nick? How's the ride? This is the craziest damn thing I've ever done in my entire life. The best players in the whole world. We love you guys. Saints offensive lineman Zach Street. I'm getting pelted by the Saints PR staff. Thank you, Nick Carl. Thank you, Dave Lawrence. It never gets old, does it?
So we've had the owner, Drew Brees, his linemen, lots of beads. And I can tell you, while we've been killing time in between the lulls, we've had some great football games going. Come on. Oh, what is this? Oh! You know, I still got 4 years of college eligibility left. Ready?
Kurt, I was open.
I checked off to the other receiver.
Jeff, the fans out here are getting a little bit of a treat.
Oh, Perry Walker's band.
The Drew Brees float has stopped in front of the fans. And the best offensive line, according to John Madden, in the NFL, throwing the beads out, being serenaded by the Yin Yang Twins. Jeff, let's take a walk around to the other side of the float. Saints offensive lineman Nick Leckie. Hey Nick! Nick! What's that? It's amazing! Thank you to the good Lord! Thank you! Saints offensive lineman Nick Leckie. And he threw me something. Thank you, mister. You gotta understand what a thrill this is for anyone, but for players like these who aren't from Louisiana and the carnival culture so foreign to them, this has got to be mind-blowing.
The crowd is really beginning to heat up. Everybody is thrilled to see Drew Brees and company. Hey, let's talk to some folks with a sign. Hey, y'all! How you doing? Can you give me a hoot?
You're looking at the wide receivers there, Colston, Meacham, and a few of the others there. As they're passing down Canal Street, they're going near our crew, I believe they're on Canal Street.
Those folks on Canal have been waiting hours to finally see a float. We heard them just go wild when they finally saw Drew Brees.
Almost as long as they've been waiting for a Saints Super Bowl victory. No, I'm sorry, just kidding.
As Adam was saying, this has to be quite an experience for some of these players who are not from the area, have never been to Mardi Gras, and all of a sudden they're in the biggest parade possibly in the city's history.
Indeed. Let's go back to Gallier Hall once again. Our Glenn Board is there. Let's see what's going on now.
Yes, the Edna Carr. It's the Edna Carr band. Edna Carr High School right now playing in front of Gallier Hall. A number of the floats have already passed. The Reggie Bush just passed a few minutes ago. Got a big round of applause here.
How about a round of applause for Charles Bam Bam?
Everybody's still standing strong, guys. There's been a lull in the parade, so to speak, but you know, everyone's still here and waiting for this parade to end or get close to an end anyway, but no one is leaving. Everyone's still here. Governor Bobby Jindal standing in front of the dais with Archbishop Gregory Amon.
Off is Smoky Mary is the float.
Mayor Nagin still at his post.